Yeah.
So, my name's John Ferrara. I'm the CEO of Nimble, and I love doing these shows because I think that we're on this planet to grow by helping other people grow. And so we put together these webinars with friends of ours that inspire and educate us. And we bring them to you because we believe that the more people that you could help grow, the more you will grow. And that's, again, why we're on this planet. So I'm super excited to have Mike Sadowski with us today. Mike, the CEO of Brand24. Mike, say hello to the audience.
Hey guys, good to be here.
What I love about Mike is that he's a serial entrepreneur like myself, and we also share many passions, including photography, history, and flying things that take pictures. Uh, he has built a company called Brand24 that is used by over 100,000 different brands across 78 companies. And he's done that building conversation and community, not by just building his own brand, by empowering his team members to build their brand and by aligning the promises that make and the experience that they deliver. And for all of that, he has been awarded dozens of awards, including Best Co-Founder in Next Web Startups, People Stage Winner on Web Summit Conference, and CMO of the Year by Media Run Awards. And that's why we've asked Mike to come here and share his ideas on how our audience can be more effective at boosting their online brand and growing sales in 2018. Mike, take us away.
Thank you, John. So I have to say I'm pretty stressed out. So many people viewing from many different countries. Someone said once that the best thing to cope with stress is to picture your audience naked, which in terms of webinar is very likely to be the case because you watch this from anywhere all over the world, probably from your homes, workplaces. So there's likely to be someone in underpants watching us right now, which is super cool. So hi to that person or people. Typically I start this presentation with just building the credibility for myself because you guys don't know me and why this douchey guy has anything meaningful to say or any knowledge whatsoever. So typically I would start with just a brief introduction into my my company. I hate to talk about my own product because the authenticity of me saying how awesome Brand24 is little, I guess. So I'll just briefly go through the slides to build my credibility, and then hopefully I'll share the tips and tricks that are literally the tips and tricks I would share with the best friend drinking a beer and just trying to boost his business and push his business forward. So without further ado, yeah, Brand24, it's a media monitoring tool. So whenever whoever talks on the public web, we collect the information and we show you the insights. We allow you to engage the conversation. We allow you to gather customer feedback. So you actually learn why people like your product, why people like your company, why people like your tool, your e-commerce site, your shop, whatever it is you're doing. We will create the connection with you and your customer, or we will enhance the connection. Once you know that somebody's talking about you, it's cool to engage the customers because it drives brand ambassadors, which I'll mention in the later stages of the presentation. But obviously, once you see somebody's talking about your company, it's really cool to engage and maybe boost the experience for your customers. And the third part is generating sales for social listening or media monitoring. So finding not necessarily mentions about your own company, but mentions that are related to your business and can help you to boost or expose your company. So those are just little numbers that showcase our modest company. We've been doing this for 6 years. We started locally in Poland. Now it's a global product with 87 countries on board. So that's it for hopefully for Brand24. And now let's get to the chase and show the tips that I prepared for you guys. So first thing I can highly recommend is tracking your users to understand your let's say people who visit your website. And it feels like analytics is such a like far from sexy, and it's such a boring topic, and it's something that the large companies like Coca-Cola's can use to boost a little bit more sales, or to improve the conversion. But actually, for most businesses, even early stage businesses, it's something that can be a matter of life or death for your company. So tracking users, tracking what they do with your product, consuming the feedback. So the tools that we use, one of them is Heap Analytics, the other is Amplitude. There are several tools that allow you to do this. Another would be a Full Story. Those are all products that we've tested. We've used them for, or we constantly use them. So I can highly recommend any of them. And the cool thing about those analytics products is that you know what people do within your website. Sometimes it's based on this let's say action blocks, where you literally see what your users did within your product. Sometimes it's funnels. So funnels that allow you to easily see which stages of your website, which steps that your customer has to take cause them the biggest problems, and where do you actually lose most customers within your website. And this can be a game changer for any company. Trust me that if you set up this funnels, and cool thing about this is that it's only one line of a JavaScript code that you plug within your website, and you start to track everything within your product. Every action that your user take within your website is tracked, and therefore you can learn from that, and you can find places where just customers get stuck. Here's another funnel. Another products like this are products like Hotjar, where you not only have funnels, but you can literally see mouse moving, the mouse moves of your customers. So you literally are sitting behind your customers while they browse your website, which is immensely powerful. Every other week we set up a session for our product team where we watch how our users use our product, and this is game changing because most of the times our users use our product in a vastly different manner than we have anticipated, and it's obviously good to know.
Mike, I want to interject a little something here.
Sure, go ahead.
I think that the things that you're talking about right now are applicable to not just companies with company websites, but individuals, because I think that if you are aware that your network is your net worth, your personal brand plus your professional network will help you achieve your dreams in life, then you should have your own identity out there, and not just on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn, but your own website that has a domain that you ideally drive people to that website with the content and conversations that you create out there in the world. And what you're talking about is applicable to any website, whether it's just a simple website or a SaaS app or a combination thereof. So for those listening, I just want to make sure that they understand that the things that you're talking about is how do you more effectively convert and retain the eyeballs you drive to your website.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's perfectly applicable for any type of website. It might be a startup, it might be e-commerce, it might be a personal website. As you mentioned, it's easily integratable with popular CMS systems like WordPress, or popular hosting sites like Squarespace. So it's really 5 minutes of integration of work for integration without even being a coder. And what's cool is that some of those products like Hotjar are free. So they have a free version that I believe under 2,000 visits a month, you can use this for free. If your website is not that big, if it's under 2,000 visits, you can use it for free, and it gives immense value. Let me show you some of the use cases for because all those charts and all those funnels look fancy, but how do you actually use this? So one of the use cases for us was our registration form, which used to look like that. It wasn't it wasn't great, but I wouldn't imagine that it has a huge impact on our sales and on our traffic. Yet when we finally plugged in analytics and we found out the funnels, we saw that this site has over 70% of bounce rate. So 7 out of 10 people who visited this page actually went away and didn't test my product in the first place. So we changed this. We removed the promo code. We've simplified this. The improvement cost us 24 hours of work for a single developer, but the conversion went from 2.5% from people who visited the homepage to people who successfully signed up for the product to 7.4. So we had literally 3 times more customers by simply fixing the registration form, which is early in our sales funnel. So I bet that within your websites there are places that can be improved, and analytics tools can help you to find them really easy. Obviously, maybe some of you use Google Analytics, which is probably the most popular analytics tool out there, and it's amazing. It also has the funnel options. The cool thing about the technologies I've recommended is that you don't have to preset the funnel like you have to do in Google Analytics. In Google Analytics, you have to know what you want to track, and you have to set it up, wait for the data to collect, and then analyze. For all the tools that I mentioned, they analyze, they collect every information, and they so you can go back like 12 months back and check a particular funnel that you didn't have set up before. So there's a huge value here. Okay, another tip: leverage the social proof. So more and more companies are using, let's say, words of their customers to brag about their product, which is probably built more credibility than myself saying how amazing my product is. And this is pretty obvious because companies were doing this for a long time, but what we are seeing now is that companies are starting to embed social mentions and just mentions from the web in general to make it more credible, let's say authentic. And you can see one of the companies, LiveChat, embeds tweets that are praising them for the technology, for the tool that they offer, and it just boosts the experience for the new customers. It's instant build of trust because people can click for mentions. They can see that those are real people or real companies that complemented the product.
Mike, I have a question on that
sure,
testimony.
go ahead. Yeah.
So I think it's more powerful when other people talk about you than when you talk about you. So I love this social proof that you could post on your website of people talking about you. How do you tag them to be displayed on the page? Because certainly you wouldn't want everything displayed on the page. So I assume there's a UI that has your stream, and you could then flag things for posting.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, some of the companies just manually embed pre-selected tweets or Facebook posts or Instagram posts on their website, but there's more and more products that allow you to like all the most of the listing tools like ours allow you to collect all mentions and then choose the ones that you like to present on your website. Then we offer you a JavaScript code that you embed, and all the mentions that you selected within the product are displayed on your website.
Brand24 does that. When you select things that you're listening, it can go into a queue, and that queue could be fed into your website.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. So the next tool I would recommend checking out is Proof. The URL address, I believe, is useproof.com. Which is something that you probably have seen on sites like booking.com or any, let's say, hotel-related sites. So sites that allow your customer or your potential customer to see that they are a part of the bigger audience, that they are part of the bigger community, that there's more people. So those are those little pop-ups that you can see on the website that 124 people are viewing this page right now, or let's say 300 people signed up for our product in last week alone. This creates a feeling of being a part of the, let's say, larger group, and it's obviously a positive thing for potential new customers to see that they are a part of the bigger community. So again, easy integration, some pre-selected templates. So again, within literally 5 minutes or 10 minutes, you can boost your conversion by implementing a tool like this. Most of those tips I mentioned during this webinar are things you can hopefully implement the next day. So it's not a huge, let's say, endeavor to implement. Another thing is to uncover sources for direct traffic. So I mentioned Google Analytics, and one of the major challenges for all the marketers out there is to see where the traffic comes from, so to hopefully replicate this and get more and more traffic. Google don't really, is a lot of help in terms of tracking referrals and tracking, maybe some keywords that you picked up some Google organic traffic from, but most of the traffic, or a lot of the traffic that we get on our websites, is direct traffic, which is nobody knows what is it. So this is how media marketing can be helpful, because we can help you to pick up mentions where that were not links, so they are not trackable with referral section within Google Analytics, but we can still track them, and you can let's say see the correlation between mention from some popular journalists or some popular YouTuber or some blogger that mentions your company on his Twitter. They don't provide a link, so it's not trackable with click-through, but we can still pick it up, and we can help you to pinpoint this the spikes in traffic, and therefore you can probably replicate this in the future and maybe cooperate with this person. So one of the use cases would be a company called I Like Paper. This is a German company that manufactures paper watches. Pretty cool product, and they were really unaware that there's a lot of discussion about their company on Instagram, and this is how social listening or how media marketing can help you. It can show you conversation that is happening out there, people talking about your company and promoting your company, but not through links, so it's not trackable within Google Analytics, but you can still see this, and you can still match this with the spikes in traffic that you had, and hopefully replicate this in the future. Another thing, engage your customers. I mentioned this before, but once you start to...
Mike, can we go back to that? Because
yeah, certainly, you should, sure.
So I think that a lot of marketers are trying to get tracking an ROI. And it's easy to, when you have some sort of landing page or other shares that you do in social, to have UTM, Unified Tracking, whatever it's called, and all that goes into your Google Analytics. But it's if let's say that, Mark Cuban mentions Nimble in a tweet, which he does.
Which he did.
And all of a sudden we get a bunch of people come into our website. How are you saying that you're able to then track that back to that thing specifically?
Right. Yeah, it's because we offered analytics that would crunch the data, crunch mentions, and you would see that you had a spike in, let's say, in the reach for your discussion about your company in this particular day. So if there's Mark Cuban mentioning Nimble on Twitter, and you guys are, let's say you don't know about this, you're getting a spike in traffic you see a lot of signups and a lot of people asking questions through intercom. If you set up a project with Brand24, you would see that on this particular day, when you experience a spike, you had a really influential mention from one of the users. And if you click on the chart, and if you see this particular day, you can see that there was Mark Cuban mention for Nimble. And this,
you have to correlate the increase in traffic in your Google Analytics of the direct traffic. Maybe there's a big jump, and then go over here and see if you can correlate that to some large reach conversation. Right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Awesome. So another thing, as I mentioned, it's cool, that Mark Cuban mentioned your company, or there's some popular entrepreneur or blogger or YouTuber mentioning your company. But what's really cool is engaging those people. And my absolute favorite example for engaging customer comes from a company called a company called Virgin Trains. This is like let's say a train company from UK. And one of the days they found out about mention from Adam, who just had a reasonably large poo in one of their trains, and there's no toilet roll, which is a dramatic situation, obviously. And what's even more surprising is that they engaged the conversation. They asked which coach, Adam. They got an answer, and they instantly sent someone down. After a brief conversation, there's a success. And this is a perfect example for engaging customers to get exposure and to get brand ambassadors, because probably nobody expected Virgin Trains to engage Adam. The slides that I'm showing you went all over the world. I mean, all the entertainment sites picked it up, all the marketing blogs picked it up, and it created a lot of exposure for Virgin Trains. Moreover, it's a fair way to build your, let's say, brand ambassadors group. And this is actually one of the analysis we've made for a top cosmetics manufacturer, actually in the world, the sentiment breakdown. And in early 2013, they had troubles with a lot of negative mentions for their around their products. So, and then they decided to engage the conversation. They dedicated a single person to just engage people talking about their products. And despite the products not changing a lot during this time, during the next several months, you can see that the number of negative mentions dropped while the number of positive mentions spiked, just for showing their customers that they're listening and they're engaging the conversation. And this makes this obviously boosts their sales, because new customers are much more likely to find positive reviews for the products. And obviously, we pretty much Google every product before the purchase these days. So engaging customers, engaging potential customers, is a perfect way to build those brand ambassadors and to build relationships with clients. And what's really cool about this is that not only you will be on a good side of this single person who started the conversation, but you'll expose your company as a company that talks with the customers and listens to customers, to everyone who will ever see this particular conversation. Moreover, the people that you build relationships with, they will often defend your company even before you can pick up the new conversation. So they will just go all over the web and promote your company organically, because they will sympathize with your product, with your company, for engaging the conversation. Okay. Okay. Tip number 6: analyze inbound traffic of other tools with a similar target group. So typically, when we started to market Brand24 for the global, let's say globally, I wanted to know where other tools are getting their traffic from. Well, some of them were competitors, some of them were just friendly SaaS companies. I wanted to know, how do you get this traffic on your website, which obviously later converts to sales? How do you get this traffic on your website? So I researched the most popular SaaS products out there, and sometimes the products that we aspire to be. So products like Basecamp, products like that are popular or even semi-popular, and with similar web free data or free analysis, I could literally see which websites are the ones that generate the most traffic towards this particular tool. So it's immensely powerful knowledge to see what how my competitors or how let's say my peers are getting their traffic and where are they getting their traffic from. So so this is how SimilarWeb operates. Most of the data is available for free. If you like to check some in-depth data, you can purchase the product. But again, you can see the little websites that URL addresses that are getting a lot of traffic. So you can see that there's a blog post from blog.crazyegg.com. You can probably talk to the author for the blog post, and maybe if they would be doing, let's say, an update for the blog post, or if they would be creating a 2018 version of the blog post, they could include your product. So, and you can obviously see that it works as it drives. Most of those top reference sites generate 26% of traffic for unbounce.com, which is a cool landing page SaaS product available out there. And the tip number 7, which is, I guess, the last one we have here, use social selling to find new customers. And I mentioned that we also allow to track conversations that are related to your business, but not necessarily about your company. And we found out about this because we were doing analysis for one of the credit card operators, and we found out that there's a lot of people sharing their credit card details online, just photos on Twitter or Instagram, and it's crazy that there are specific profiles on Twitter that their sole purpose is to retweet photos from other Twitter users who just shared the credit card. We worked with one of the credit card operators to just notify instantly those people to take those pictures down, because it's obviously a liability for their accounts. You can use this for purchasing anything online. Most of them made the pictures from both sides. Obviously, some of them let's say blurred out the name while putting the photo on Twitter, where obviously their name was in the description of their profile. Which so a lot of, you can see that people are sharing pretty much everything, and we can see that there are tens of thousands of conversations of people who are currently looking for a specific product. And here's a use case for this let's say for this use for media marketing or for social listening. So Monica from Pixel PR, she has an agency that creates websites for other companies. So she picks up conversations whenever somebody's looking for a web designer or for an agency that could build them a website. She engages the conversation, and she promotes her own company, and this way she generates leads to work with and hopefully to convert to customers. And within the first month, she generated to $2,500 in revenue from engaging conversations in marketing. And the cool thing about this is that engaging conversations like this often creates exposure not only for a single person that we engaged, but we also create exposure for a company, for everyone who will ever visit this particular conversations or posts, especially if it's a message board of some sorts. They tend to be well positioned in Google, so it's likely to generate traffic for your company for weeks or months after you engage the conversation. So it's kind of like a snowball effect when you engage those conversations, and they build on top of one another. Another cool example is Airbnb, which engages people who have problems with their, let's say, accommodations. You can see Dan Wetzel complaining about the light bulbs at his apartment in Sochi, and you can see Airbnb like being like, hey Dan, you should have tried, or next time try Airbnb in this particular location. This is what we have. So engaging customers whenever they're unhappy with your competitor might also be a good idea. Yeah, that's I guess that's it from my 7 tips. I hope they are useful, and I hope those are tips that you would be already able to implement the next day or the next week. Thank you.
Mike, I really appreciate you going through these ideas on how to build your brand and grow sales in 2018. The feedback that we're getting here in the background is really tremendous. I think that in our audience, we have a lot of social media experts and business people who've been around the block and actually do this kind of teaching on a daily basis. Speakers from social media marketing world, like Jed Record and Jeff Sheehan or Thubton Cubton are in the audience.
Hey guys.
and they're just raving about it. So congratulations. Why don't you pass me the control? And what I'd like to do is I'd like to sort of talk away from slides and more about kind of how you do some of this stuff that you're talking about. But before we get there, there was one question that I wanted to see if we can get answered. Maybe Michaela, you could look through here. And I think I said, let's get Mike to answer that. And in the meantime, first I'd like to say a few words. I think that if you want to build a brand today, like Brand 24, that you can't do it by building your CEO's brand, right? That Mike doesn't scale. And that, and although Mike does have a really great brand, and I've gotten to know Mike's brand by nimbling him. So I nimbled Mike, and you know, I got to see his sort of business persona. It tells me he's influential in software and social media, sociology, finance, branding, et cetera, et cetera. But you know what? I really want to drill down into who Mike is as a person, because I think we connect on the 5 F's of life: family, friend, food, fun, and fellowship. Some people say frolicking. I'm more of a frolicker, I guess, but I love the fellowship. But you know, Mike, first off, I dig your photographs, and I think that a picture tells 1,000 words. And if you want to get to know somebody, you can go to their LinkedIn resume and you're going to find out their business persona. That's like walking in somebody's lobby. If you want to really know who somebody is, you need to walk in their digital footprint across all their identities that are available to you, so you can get to know them. And what I immediately saw is that you are a world traveler who likes to combine environment with unique perspective. And you do it with tools that I inherently figured out as a drone, because I am a drone flyer myself. And there's very few ways that you're going to get this picture like that without flying a drone. But the other thing that I really dug about your post is that you bring in a story behind the moment that you're there. So I immediately figured out that you're well-read, literate, you love history, you love photography, you love traveling. And when we connected across not just the fact that we're both CEOs of SaaS companies, but that we share these common passions. And one passion that we absolutely share is that in order to build your brand, you need to align the promises that you make and the experience that you deliver. If you can align those two, you can build a gold mine. But much of that experience is delivered through your customer-facing team members, which I have had the benefit of meeting both personally and digitally online. And so I've gotten to meet Magdalena and Olga and other team members of your company, and I think that these are the people that really build your brand. These are the people in the trenches that are connecting on those one-to-one basis. And if you're a business listening today, you need to empower your customer-facing business team members to build their brand, which will then humanize your brand and build the company brand. And that I think that, Mike, you and Brand 24 and the rest of your team are a testimony to that.
Thank you. I couldn't agree more. I mean, the first time we've connected during the let's say the preparations for the webinar, it's instant connection because of the research you did. And I know it probably sounds like something I'm supposed to say, but I was really amazed how you could do it with just one click. just like while doing your regular, or while replying the email, or while looking over my LinkedIn, you can learn so much about a person.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I think that that's what we all struggle with today in our overconnected, overcommunicated world. And that's why I love your platform, because you take that sort of social listening to the next level, where you can begin to listen to things beyond keywords on your brand. And I'm going to share an example of that. So here's this guy, Casey Ames, who's basically sharing his frustration because he's looking for a simple CRM that costs $5 to $15 a month, that connects into your email and your Twitter and helps you to stay top of mind and in touch. So this has no mention of Nimble. We would not see it if we weren't listening to the common words and frustrations that people share when they're looking for a personal CRM, a simple CRM, an influencer marketing CRM, a social selling CRM. And so, what I love about what Nimble does is it takes this person's identity and in literally seconds auto-magically builds this record with the rich details of who this person is and what they're about. And I'll bet if I had Casey on the phone right now, that I could find a place of commonality and build a connection almost instantaneously. But you don't want to do that. You don't want to pick up the phone and cold call somebody. What you may want to do is put them into your platform and begin to add value to their journey so that they actually reach out to you. And then it's not a warm call, a cold call, it's a warm call. So I love to walk in somebody's digital footprint and add value to their conversation. But ultimately, I can't go to every tab and start listening for, those keywords, simple CRM, and be able to manage that conversation. Thank you, Deb. It's nice of you to say that. But what you do need wherever you are is the ability to fish these people, these relationships out of those rivers, and then be able to then go build these records wherever you're at. But what we need is a dashboard to listen and then to identify these people and these conversations and then turn those into something more. And so what I love to do is I love to use Nimble to take connections from within Brand24 and build these beautiful records and then begin to engage with those people in conversations. And so what you can do is you can do that by simply clicking on that link, and that link will take you to the conversation. And then you could use Nimble here within the conversation to do what you need to do, which I believe if you're going to respond to a conversation, you need context and insights. Context is the history of interactions that you and the team have ever had on email, calendar, and social. And Nimble provides that because we automatically log every time you or the team have an email, calendar, or a conversation in social. So if Brian talks about Nimble or Michaela or me or Joey or whoever, all of that's logged. And if I have context and insights, I can then reply to that more effectively. But maybe I don't want to reply in this conversation. I want to reach out and have a conversation on whatever channel is going to make sense for this person. And that's why I think that having a tool like Brand24, which is out there listening to the world across all these different channels, and then enabling you to then start conversations, and these conversations shift from one channel to another. Here's an example. Here's somebody named Tiffany Bova, who used to be a Gartner analyst in charge of CRM, who got hired by Salesforce because Mark Benioff's smart, and he basically hires the analysts who then manage other analyst relationships. And so Tiffany now is spreading the gospel of Salesforce, and they're basically saying to the world, she said, CRM isn't about command and control, it's about empowering customer-facing business team members, which this guy said bullshit. It is about command and control. When are sales managers going to loosen the grip? And isn't this what John Ferrar's been teaching and building with Nimble? So I wanted to find out who this person was. And so if you had the certain keywords tracked in Brand24, it would surface conversations like this. But the reality is conversations and relationships are messy. They start in one channel and shift to another and another. And what you need to do is be able to fish that conversation out of there. So what I did is I fished this person out, and it immediately built this record that told me that he was the head of CRM and digital data at Disney. I then basically reached out in an email because Nimble gave me his connection info. I responded in that thread, and that thread shifted from Twitter to email to LinkedIn messaging, and Nimble basically followed me along there. And I was able to take this conversation and continue it here, where I learned that not only does he live in my town, but our daughters go to the same school. I then invited him to breakfast because I think you need to take digital relationships to face-to-face human connections. And we had breakfast where I basically asked him a few simple questions because I already knew about him because I nimbled him. I let him talk for 30 minutes. And Mike, when you let somebody talk for 30 minutes, you're going to learn everything you need to build a relationship, and they're going to love you because I think we all want to be heard and seen. What do you think?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
And so then that relationship then became an ongoing relationship where he now is an evangelist for Nimble. So he is talking about us and with us, and he now basically tells other people about us. And that's why I think that you need to be able to listen and engage across multiple channels beyond just the keywords of your company, but across keywords that people are having conversations, even if they're not mentioning you, and then take these conversations into digital one-to-one conversations where you've done your homework, you know who they are, what the business is about, and you reach out and start and take that digital connection to a human relationship where you're trying to add value to that person and ultimately building top of mind to become the trusted advisor. And that will result in you building an army of evangelists that will help you achieve your passion, plan, and purpose in life because you are helping them achieve theirs. And that's my close of how you can be better, smarter, faster by building your brand to build relationships and grow sales in 2018.
John?
Yeah, it's influencer marketing, yes. Marketers wet dream, I would say. All this data, all this, instant, being able to create this instant connection. One of the major applications for listening in the first place is to to find influencers. And I mean, boy, Magda, who is our brand manager, and she's responsible for managing relationships with also influencers, brand ambassadors, loves this because, yeah, again, instant information that you can use to build to provide value because you know what it is that possibly drives the other person.
So we had a question from Jerry Gitchell about, he said this: once upon a time, and by the way, while we're answering this question, please put your questions in the Q&A box. We'd love to get to as many questions as possible. So his question was, once upon a time, we measured analytics monthly, then weekly. Are you suggesting a shift to real time?
Not necessarily. Most of our users actually based their work on weekly KPIs or bi-weekly KPIs for a matter. So it all depends on the spikes that you had. Sometimes when you're overanalyzing to short period of time, it's probably not good for the insights that you'll come up with because too small period might mean that you're gaining traffic or losing traffic, while in the big picture you are more or less on the same level. So it all depends on the analysis on what do you want to research. Most of the use cases for us for crunching down the analytics, we try to pinpoint to analyze our progress or regress with the, let's say, new features or new onboarding functionalities. So whenever we implement some new onboarding, let's say, route for one of the customers, we want to base our analysis on the date when we implemented this feature. So typically that would be the last 2 weeks before implementing new feature, and then the 2 weeks post implementing new features. We compare those two to get the results if we are doing better or worse. So actually, a real-time let's say analytics or social media analytics might come in handy in some situations like crisis management. However, most of the users use this on weekly basis.
Cool.
And thanks for the question.
I got a comment from Jeff Sheehan. By the way, I think that Jeff Sheehan has 1 million followers. It's something crazy. Let's just go over here and nimble him.
Yeah, no pressure then.
So Jeff's maybe it's he only has 360,000 followers. So Jeff is a influencer in social selling and small business, etc. And I just want to let you know, Mike, that that Jeff said that Magdalena is the bomb.
She'll be happy to hear. I'm sure she's listening now, so she'll be over the moon.
This is the example of what community builds for you, right? When you empower your customer-facing business team members to build their brand and then connect with others at scale, magic happens. Somebody asked about the 5 F's of life, and hopefully if we just Google it, it's there because I've said this enough time.
You are such a brave person to type.
And I don't
to type it in your own browser. I mean, unless it's incognito mode.
So basically, I live life on the edge. 5 F's of life. So basically, I'm just going to give them to you, and we have to definitely do a blog post about this. 5 F's of life. So it's family, friends, food, fun, and fellowship. And here is a blog post with an interview where I talk about that. But basically what I'm saying is that people don't connect on the fact that they're both CEOs. They don't connect on the fact that even they're entrepreneurs as much as they connect on the softer things of life. And so if you want to know who John Ferrari is, Nimble me, and it will show you what my passions are. And it's family, friends, food, fun, and fellowship.
And the drones.
And the drones, yes, I do a little bit of that. Okay, so I'm just looking for more questions. Do you have recommendations for a template to put together a personal brand, purpose, passion plan, content platform, tools, execution? Okay, Mark, I think that's a longer term like webinar or blog post. I will endeavor to work on that blog post and share that with everybody in this audience about how that looks. But there is a formula to it, and it involves tools like Brand24 and Nimble, and we'll get to that. Let's see if we have any more questions. We're getting to the top of the hour.
There's one from James. What's the best way to curate content for selling a niche product? There's only so many pictures I can take of my own product.
Is that James Klein?
Yeah, I guess it's about the social proof. Let's say, I would imagine.
Or is he looking for content? Which James? Is that James Klein?
All right.
CIAM?
I'm not sure. I see the names. I see Q for James.
Okay. So for those that are asking for curating content, there's 2 types of content you want to curate. One is for the social proof and people talking about you and your brand, and you could use things like Brand24 to find people talking about you, your team, or your brand, and you can then save that, and then queue that up with the JavaScript on your website. Right, Mike?
Right. Yeah, certainly.
Okay. Then if you want to find content from for your industry, so let's pretend that the James that's asking, it's James Studley. So I don't know James personally. James, what kind of business are you in? And for the meantime, I'm just going to recommend BuzzSumo as one tool to curate content around keywords and find content that resonates and influencers in those categories. Right. And it's an easy tool to use. There's probably other tools. Do you have a recommendation on any other tools like this?
I would typically use either BuzzSumo or SEMrush. The SEMrush brings another, let's say, approach to finding the content for, let's say, the inspiration or research how the best content is made. But yeah, the SEMrush would be another cool product for this.
And we're a big fan of the SEMrush team too. I like the fact that SEMrush is another global company that started outside of the United States. They're also Nimble users themselves, and we're big fans of that platform as well. There's another question. Does it mean that you can't build a personal brand without injecting your private life into your messaging? You know what? I think the answer to that, Paul, is absolutely 100% yes. And if you go and look at people's Instagram feeds that, and I'm not going to pick on anybody, but let's just go into Instagram and just scroll through here real quick. And you've seen this before. They're screenshots with words, and it's all about them or their product, and they don't have anything personal. And what you need to do in life, I think, is you need to roll up your sleeves and let people see your heart and soul, because that helps them to connect with you as a human being. And when life goes through those tough moments, that you will ride through them like a professional surfer. And so and people think that, you know, Facebook is a place just for your personal persona, not your business persona, and that LinkedIn is the place for your business persona, but you couldn't get that more absolutely wrong. And I'm going to roll us back 100 years. 100 years ago, you built relationships based off trust. People buy from people they like, know, and trust, and you built intimacy and trust by taking that person to lunch, by taking them to your home, by taking them to a pub, by taking them to a ball game. This is all personal stuff. And so today, I think for people to remember you, you need to share some of your persona so they can find areas of commonality and connection. In fact, today, warming up, Michaela and Mike and I were talking about family, and the fact that I shared with them that even though I've built 2 global software companies and retired when I was 40, my biggest reward is my family, and the fact that I was able to be a present and stay-at-home dad for 10 years and be part of that journey, and that is a gift that's priceless. And so when people look at my persona beyond my LinkedIn, they'll get a bit of that of me, and I think it builds a better connection. In fact, Mike just said that to be the case.
Yeah, I totally agree. I would say that it's doable to build a business without this background, without this context for our personalities, but it's so much easier when you do share and when you do connect with people on other than business levels.
I got another question from Paul Well. How do you get quality traffic for interactive agency? There's plenty of fish in the sea in this scope, but I'm starting the company just now.
Yeah, so maybe I can take this one a little bit.
Sure.
The beauty of the things that myself and John mentioned is that pretty much most of the companies are yet to use this. I mean, if you even Google or put it in Twitter search, like best interactive agency or which interactive agency or recommend plus interactive agency, you will see dozens of people asking what agency can you recommend without having any reply from anyone whatsoever. So this is mostly untapped niche, and what John Google right now is like some of those conversations or some of those links are a blog post like top 5 innovative digital marketing agencies. You can see that Mashable article that is has a pretty cool position with Google, and you can comment on this article promoting your company. So I would start with engaging conversations that are well positioned with Google or with Twitter top results, and I would just engage them with comments. I would maybe try to build a relationship with the author, so the next time they mention top agencies, they can, or upcoming agencies, they can include yours. So that would be the typical use case. And for most of this, you don't even have to use media monitoring. You can just start with the Google conversations. You can start with top results from Twitter search, and you can see the results from this, and then you can maybe try to engage these conversations on a daily basis with monitoring tools.
So here's my recommendation if you're trying to build your brand in any kind of business. I believe that you need to first stop talking about yourself and your products and services, because nobody cares. You need to talk about how other people can become better, smarter, faster, and it simply comes down to, if you teach people to fish, they'll figure out you sell fishing poles. And so if I was a digital agency today, what I would do is I'd identify the top influencers in and around the areas of promise of my products and services, and I'd begin to share their content on a daily basis. In fact, I would share from my company brand and from my personal brand and my team members.brand content on every hour on the hour. And what I do is I'd go find content. You could do that with Zest, Zest.io. It's a plugin to Chrome. And then you use something like Buffer to basically queue up that content. And ideally, you modify the title a little bit, so you give it a little bit of style. You put in some hashtags. And then what you also want to do is you want to take that person's name and you want to utilize that person's name in the attribute their name in the storytelling. So once you've done all that, then you basically would then queue that up, hashtag it, attribute the name, and then share that across your company brand and your team member brand, etc. And then what that will be is it's like fishing lures that you drop them out of your business, and those fishing lures are would then create engagements. And so what you need to do is you need to then fish those engagements out of the river and begin to interact and connect with those people. And here's an example. Cora Graham is one of the top people at G2 Crowd, and she and I'm not the decision maker at Nimble for G2 Crowd, which is a platform that helps business people make the decisions for software. But she reached out, and we built a personal connection. In fact, we built a commonality on the fact that we both love vinyl records. And she was kind enough to send me covers for my record albums, like extra covers. And as a vinyl collector, that just comes in absolutely handy. And so we're building a relationship beyond the business side, but that's going to help her when she's working with our team, trying to get them to consider G2 Crowd as a platform to do business with. And so sort of bringing it back around, if you're trying to build your brand, what you need to do is you need to inspire and educate other people how they might become better and smarter, faster in and around the areas of promise of your products and services. And what I do is I sprinkle in a little bit of extra. So I am an amateur astronomer, a backpacker. I love archaeology, anthropology, and I share content about that. I also share content about business stuff. So this morning I found these interviews or a lecture that Steve Jobs gave at an MIT class, and he gave away a lot of his secrets there. I also love music, so I share music. I love ice cream and photography. So you can see that it's a mix of human and business and passion all in one place. And that's what you need to do to stand out from the crowd today. And that's what we're teaching here with this webinar. So we went 5 minutes over. I hope that you all got some value here today. What I'd like you to do is to connect with Mike and myself. My email is john@nimble.com. untitled.com. And Mike is, if you just Google Mike, you'll find him, because that's the kind of guy he is. Well, there's a lot of Mike Sadowskis out there, but basically,
yes. But there's only one Brand24. If you ever put and mention Brand24 anywhere on Twitter or Instagram, I'll be there to engage.
Okay. But I do encourage you to sign up for Brand24 and to check it out. I really believe that they're building something unique. And if you think about it, Hootsuite was that first generation product for listening. And I think that products like Brand24 are taking listening and engagement to a new level. But Kayla, did you have any final words?
Yes, I wanted to make sure that we talk about the awesome offer that Brand24 has.
Oh, see, I was gonna go out the door without doing that. So let's hope that I know which tab that I was in. Bear with me. There it is. Okay, so let's take it into the close here. Thank you for bringing us back, Michaela. So, Mike, why don't you take your offer?
Yeah, so it's 50% off first 3 months. Again, we typically don't charge until you see the value in the product itself. So if you need even more time to realize whether the data that we offer is any value, and if you can incorporate this within your daily routine or weekly routine or monthly routine. You can use brand24.com/promo/nimble to redeem the code and get 50% off first 3 months. Yeah.
And then what we're offering is something called prospector credits. And to get those, you need to sign up for a new trial and email care@Nimble. And let me just show you what that is. So let's say I wanted to connect with Joffrey, and kind of like how I connected with that guy from Disney. And I want his info. So I basically turn Nimble on, and to get Nimble to know what page you're on LinkedIn, you have to hover on the URL, unfortunately, because LinkedIn's kind of funny that way. But once you do that, then you basically let Nimble build this beautiful record. So Nimble just built that live profile. This basically was created on the fly. And now what I want to do is I want to get his contact info. So what you need to do is you click on search for contact info. This is prospector in action. You give it the first name, last name, company, domain, and Nimble will give you their email, their phone number, their mobile phone number, their address, and essentially build this beautiful record for them in seconds, and that is Nimble Prospector. So Nimble Prospector is part of the Nimble app that comes with every Nimble system. It's just that you get a certain amount of credits for free, and if you want more credits, you need to buy them. And Prospector works literally anywhere. So if I wanted to get a hold of Biz Carson, this writer for Forbes, I can Nimble Biz and then basically use Prospector to get her email, etc. And it even works inside of your existing CRM. So Nimble can either be your social sales and marketing system or work within your existing social sales and marketing systems. In fact, we bidirectionally synchronize with over 100 different SaaS business apps. So we'll work with any social sales, marketing, customer service, accounting, or social media app pretty much on the market. So is that it for the offers? Yes. Sounds like we got music going, which is sort of like the Oscars. It's time to go.
I just started to play the guitar. I took your advice about adding this personal touch. And
do you play guitar?
I do.
I always wanted to play the guitar.
It's in my office.
So I'll have to live vicariously through your playing. So I'd like to thank everybody for coming today, and especially those nearly 100 people that stayed 10 minutes after the hour. Please connect with Mike and myself. Let us know how we might be able to help you achieve your passion, plan, and purpose in life. Have an amazing day. Good luck and good relationship building.
Yeah. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, Mike.